You're told the state is there to protect you. Well, this is what happens when it decides you're just easier to remove. And no, this isn't some theory. This is a file. It's my file. It's a story told through their own official documents, their emails, and their police logs.
My name is Joseph Janes. I'm a veteran. And this quote, "This isn't where my story begins. This is the calculated end result. This is the documented consequence of a multi-year ordeal, where the very institutions that were meant to serve and protect me worked together systematically to break me."
You have to understand, this didn't just happen. It wasn't bad luck. It was methodical. It was a chain reaction, a series of dominoes pushed by hands in uniforms and in offices, all falling in exactly the same direction. To really understand the destruction, you have to see what pushed that first domino.
Okay, so here's where the official record kicks off. March 31st, 2022. I was assaulted. The police were called, and what did they do? They arrested me, the actual victim. The very next day, they must have realized their mistake because they de-arrested me for assault, only to immediately re-arrest me for a fray. They needed a new story to fit their actions, so they just wrote one. And when I demanded to see the CCTV footage that would have proven my innocence, denied. And that denial, that was everything.
Because with that completely contested, unproven story, they had exactly what they needed. They had a weapon. A version of events stamped on official paper that painted me as the problem. And that single lie, it became the foundation for everything that came next.
The documents show exactly where that weapon was aimed. The police narrative was immediately passed from Surrey Police straight to my housing association, Metropolitan Thames Valley Housing, or MTVH. And just look at this internal note. Closure order should be supported. The evidence pack wasn't even done yet, but believe me, the verdict was already in.
And here it is. This is the pattern. This is the machine in action. The police create a story. They feed that story to the housing association. The housing association then uses that story to start eviction proceedings. And then the council just rubber stamps the whole thing, all based on that same initial unverified data. Each agency just reinforces the last, and suddenly you've got this echo chamber where a lie becomes an official, actionable fact.
And you know, if the facts weren't on their side, they just made sure my defense couldn't even be heard. On the actual day of my court hearing, the hearing to make me homeless, my main witness, Stevie Louise, was arrested and detained under the Mental Health Act. She was physically prevented from testifying. A coincidence? Right before she was due in court? You tell me.
It just makes you wonder, right? How does this even happen? How do all these supposedly independent bodies, the police, housing, the council, all manage to align so perfectly, so quickly, to target one single person? The answer, it turns out, is baked right into the system itself. They use these things called information sharing agreements. Officially, they're frameworks designed to allow cooperation to make sure that any data being shared is, and I'm quoting here, proportionate and relevant. It's supposed to be a safeguard, you see.
So let's just compare that official purpose with the documented reality in my case. The law, GDPR, says data has to be accurate, but what was shared about me? It was subjective, it was unsubstantiated, it was specifically engineered to create a profile of a problem tenant who needed to go.
I mean, just look at the language they used. These are direct quotes from my files. High risks to staff. Tenancy not sustainable. They even used the fact that a guest once wore a maid outfit to my home to imply I was some kind of deviant. None of it was proven. None of it was substantiated. These labels, shared as official data between state bodies, are a flagrant breach of data protection law. They weren't sharing facts. They were sharing prejudice.
And this wasn't just some paperwork exercise. This pattern, this machine of sharing false narratives and escalating enforcement, it had a real, devastating human cost. It had my cost.
The documents lay out the escalation plain as day. In June 2022, a false report of a gas leak, in my all-electric building, by the way, was used to try and force their way in. Then, in November, I was in a severe mental health crisis. I asked for paramedics. They sent armed police instead. And by February 2023, well, they finally got what they wanted all along, my unlawful eviction. And the result of all that? Forced homelessness. I lost everything I owned. While I was on the streets, I was assaulted, I developed sepsis, and now I have a partially paralyzed face. My PTSD, which is a result of my military service, was weaponized against me and made infinitely worse. This is the documented result of their process. So let's be absolutely clear. This was not one rogue officer. This wasn't one difficult housing manager. This was, at a minimum, 5 public bodies. Surrey Police, MTVH Housing, Runnymede Council, the NHS, and Surrey Social Services. All of them acting in concert, all of them contributing to the systematic destruction of one person's life.
So, I'll just leave you with the question that these documents scream from every page. When the police, housing associations, local councils, and social services all make their own independent decisions, and every single one aligns perfectly to crush one citizen, is that a coincidence? Or is that a system working exactly as it was designed to? And if it is, where does the accountability ever lie?